Whether you are looking to get your first Peloton bike or are considering the upgrade to the Peloton Bike Plus, it can be a very difficult decision to make because while we all would like to get the more upgraded and premium bike, it does come at a steep price, costing about $600 more. And while I've watched a lot of videos talking about the differences between these two bikes, they mostly just cover a few of the obvious things like the screen rotation and the auto adjustments. But there are actually a lot more differences between these two bikes than first meets the eye. And so today I want to cover 16 differences between the Peloton Bike and the Peloton Bike Plus. My name is Colin Jenkins, and welcome to Connect the Watts, your #1 resource for connected fitness news, reviews, tips, and guides. Make sure to press subscribe so you can continue getting all of our latest videos. So there are 16 differences between the Bike and Bike Plus. Some of them are obvious, but others aren't. And so we are going to go through the list so that you learn everything that you need to know about the differences between these two bikes. So let's start off with #1, the screen size. The original Peloton Bike has a 21.5-inch HD screen, whereas the Peloton Bike Plus has a 23.8-inch HD screen. 2 inches of differences on a TV monitor sitting 6 to 8 feet away may not be much, but because the screen is literally less than a foot or two away from your face, 2 inches means that the screen captures a much wider portion of your range of vision. And talking more about the screen, difference #2 is that the screen on the Peloton Bike Plus has reduced reflective and anti-smudge coating. And although this coating is transparent, it helps repel dirt, oil, water, fingerprints, and this is often used for tablets and phones because it makes the surfaces of electronic devices much easier to clean. And attached to the screen is difference #3, which is the speakers. The original bike features two 10-watt rear-facing speakers with 16 watts of total power, whereas the Peloton Bike Plus has two front-facing stereo speakers, allowing a total of 26 watts of total power, in addition to having two rear-facing watt woofers. The fourth difference is well known, and that is that the Peloton Bike Plus has a screen that rotates 180 degrees to each side, allowing for 360 degrees of viewing capability. But while you cannot rotate the original Peloton Bike screen, there are accessories that you can install into your bike that allow you to do that rotation. Difference #5 is the auto adjusting resistance feature on the Peloton Bike Plus. With the original Peloton Bike, you'll always need to adjust the resistance up or down manually. But with the Peloton Bike Plus, it has auto resistance, which means that you can lock on to the coach recommendations and you can choose anywhere within a range to allow yourself to make the workout harder or easier while having it still automatically follow the coach's instructions to increase or decrease your resistance. And this is one of the biggest selling points for me personally because I just love being able to ride the bike without having to think about adjusting the resistance up and down throughout the class. Speaking of resistance, although both bikes feature magnetic resistance, the original Peloton uses a mechanical adjustment, whereas the new Peloton Bike Plus uses a digital adjustment. And this just means that when you turn that knob on the Peloton Bike Plus, it can spin much quicker and much smoother than it can on the original Peloton. And this is really nice once you have a good handle on the bike and know how much to turn for what you want, because it turns extremely quickly and it's very fast and smooth. And not many people know this, but because of this digital adjustment for the Peloton Bike Plus, it actually has more accurate outputs because it allows your bike to actually be calibrated electronically. So it stays a lot more accurate, and you'll often find that people are pretty shocked jumping onto the Peloton Bike Plus after using the original Peloton because it feels so different at different resistances. And that's because in many cases, their original Peloton bike was not calibrated correctly. And so when they jumped on the Peloton Bike Plus and rode with a more correct calibration, it can be a big shock and could drastically change how well you typically do on the leaderboard. The next difference is that the Peloton Bike Plus has a cleaner design. There's less wires sticking out, the charger has a pad to keep things more condensed and looks nicer, the bike has a more premium textured look to it, and if you're looking for aesthetics in a more premium look, then the Bike Plus is definitely a slight step up. And it's not just the looks of the bike, because the ninth difference is that the adjustment systems on the bike are much smoother. And this is very noticeable to me because me and my wife are very different sizes, and so we are always adjusting the bike up and down, forward and back. And the Peloton Bike Plus just has a smoother, cleaner, and faster system to do this. Difference #10 is the placement of the headphone jack. Because on the original Peloton, the headphone jack is in the back of the screen, which makes it kind of awkward as the wire's wrapped around the screen, and if you don't really have a long wire, it doesn't work out too well. With the Peloton Bike Plus, the headphone jack is right in the center of the handlebars, which is much smarter and a much more useful placement. Personally, I don't use a headphone jack because I use wireless headphones, but let's talk about that too. Difference #11 is that the Peloton Bike Plus uses a Bluetooth 5.0 connection, whereas the original Peloton uses a 4.0 connection. This is probably one of the smaller differences between the two bikes, but the more advanced Bluetooth technology allows for better speed and a further range. This probably won't make a big difference because unless you're going to the bathroom and still want to hear what's going on many feet away, you're probably not going to be too far away from the bike during your workout. Difference number 12 has to do with their cameras. Most people don't use or even know about the video chat feature, which allows you to see and talk with your friends during rides, but it's there if you want it, and the Peloton Bike Plus has an 8 megapixel camera that also includes a privacy cover. Difference number 13 also has to do with those video chats because the microphones on these two bikes are very different. On the original Peloton, it's just a normal built-in microphone, whereas on the Peloton Bike Plus, it's a 4 digital array microphone. And what this means is the Peloton Bike Plus actually has 4 microphones, and that it is able to use the sounds coming from the 4 microphones to be able to tell what is your voice and what is background sound or what is the class sound. So basically, it just helps you cut out any background noise that isn't you talking. Difference number 14 is the Wi-Fi connection. The Peloton Bike Plus has an upgraded Wi-Fi system, meaning it can use both 2.4 GHz and 5 GHz. What this means for you non-tech nerds is you might notice with your internet router that you'll have 2 different connections coming out of it, often called a 2 connection and a 5 connection. The 2 connection is a bit slower, but allows the Wi-Fi to spread farther, whereas the 5 connection is a lot stronger, but it can't spread the Wi-Fi quite as far. So the Peloton Bike Plus is actually able to utilize that 5 GHz connection, which means it'll receive a stronger signal if you're close enough to your Wi-Fi so that you get better streaming and video quality during your classes. Next up is the Apple Gym Kit integration. This allows you to connect your bike to your Apple Watch really quickly and easily before each ride. And the only downside of this is that the Apple Watch integration doesn't work for any other classes besides cycling classes. So unfortunately, if you want to see your heart rate and track your Strive score on classes like boot camps, strength classes, or cardio classes, you really can't do that with your Apple Watch unless you have a workaround like the Watch Link, which I use, and I'll put in the description below. And the final difference is while the original Peloton has a 2GB RAM, the new Peloton Bike Plus has twice as much with 4GB. So when using it, it'll feel more snappy, more responsive, and it will likely be able to last a lot longer as more upgrades to the Peloton system come out without you having to get a new screen replacement. In interviews, Peloton has actually said previously that while they believe that their bikes will last 10 or more years, they don't know that if their screens will last that long, and they have said that screens for some models may need to be replaced to keep up with the new tech. So you might not be saving quite as much money as you think by buying the original Peloton if you plan to keep it for a long time, because you might eventually need to replace that screen with a model that has more RAM. If you're thinking about getting your first Peloton bike, which bike will you be choosing? Let me know in comments. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to press like. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video.